Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, live as promised. Win, lose, or draw from the field of Raymond James Stadium, and the photographer's off to my right. So I'm just gonna mess with him a little bit and say I'm still dry, even though this field is pretty wet. And that rain came down something serious today. I actually heard a few players said that was some of the worst rain that they've had recently down here in Tampa during a game. And our photographer basically endured it. But nevertheless, let me hit this button right here because I forgot to bring my guy on. Andre Cassidy, how you doing?
Hey, we're hanging in, man. I mean, that was quite the game from all different sides of the spectrum. But hey, we're here. We're ready to talk about it and let a little bit of some angst off our chest, if you will.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did not say the final score, and there's a lot of scoreboards behind me, but they've been cutting off the lights. So do you know that final score? I know it was a 3-point loss.
I know it by
18 to
heart
21?
now. It
All right,
is
go for it.
21 to 18, Carolina losing and falling to 1-11 on the year, officially eliminated from playoff contention, Chris.
Why are you going to jump ahead of me? Why are you going to jump ahead? Let's go ahead and show those standings now that Andre just
Hey, that's
dropped
a
the
good
bomb on
segue
me.
right there.
Yes, Andre dropped the bomb. Newsflash, newsflash.
I
Unfortunately, the
love it.
Carolina Panthers are officially eliminated from playoff contentions. The Carolina Falcons. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. The Atlanta Falcons are 6-6 in first place in the division. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at 5-7, still with playoff hopes. New Orleans Saints at 5-7, still with playoff hopes. We play them next week, so maybe we can play spoiler as I go down to what's New Orleans' nickname? You know?
The
Look at
Big
that.
Easy.
Thank you. That's why you're.
The
That's why
Big
I need you.
Easy.
The Big Easy. We'll be down in the Big Easy next week, hoping to ruin some things in the Carolina Panthers. They're at 1-11, and here's one of the things I just want to touch on. That PF is points for. That PA is points against. Our division is pretty bad, so this isn't league wide. But we have 191 points for. That is about 40 points less than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we have allowed 313 points. That is about 75 worse than the New Orleans Saints. So some tough things going on here with this Carolina Panthers team. Lots of stuff we're going to get through for you today as we go through the game and recap some things. But before we lose you, hit the subscribe button just for the fact of supporting independent media. We appreciate any time that you can support us. And it's the easiest thing to do, just hit the like button. I know it's tough. It's tough. We're losing. We're losing a lot. But hopefully Andre and I are presenting the information in, I can't say the most entertaining way, but a way in which you want to just tune in and get the latest up to date and then tune us out until the next Sunday. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're still trying to push to 10,000 subscribers, so hope that you all can help us get to it. And now what we're going to do is be joined by Vashti of Carolina Blitz. Hey, did you know that? Look,
Okay.
listen to that surprise. So I'm going to boost you off the screen here for a second, Andre. I'm going to go
Okay.
solo.
No offense taken.
She likes
Look
the
at
lighting.
that.
So that means that she may come on one more time. So Vashti, I know you Carolina Blitz, so
Yes.
please check her out and support her. I asked her, since I know she always comes out on the field, to say, hey, give me a minute if you don't mind stepping out. So she was gracious enough to do that. One thing I don't do is go into the locker room. Did you get a chance to go in the locker room today?
I did. Very somber Brian Burns.
Okay.
He basically said regarding him getting thrown out of the game that one of the offensive linemen said something they should not have said.
Uh-oh.
He did
We hit a
not
trigger.
elaborate. Right. He did not elaborate. He was asked several times whether it was racially motivated. He refused to answer. He wouldn't tell us what they said. But he said emphatically that he said something that he should not have said. And then from that moment, he said, quote, he was on 10. And so then I guess when that happened, the offensive lineman gave him a little shove. He was TTG. For those who don't know, that means trained to go.
I was going to ask for the breakdown. I'm a little older, but I was going to Google it later to figure it out.
He was trained to go, and then he did say it was just a bubbling over of all the frustrations this season, and you're in the locker room.
Yeah.
Brian isn't the same. This has been a rough year for him.
Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
started with him not being able to, him not getting that contract that he feels he deserves. I feel he deserves. And so, yeah, Bryce, somber. It's just Chuba basically, he had a great game. I'm sure you talked about that. I asked him about having multiple touchdowns in a game for the first time in his career, and he was like, I just want to win. So these guys are just hungry for a win. They don't care about any of the other stuff. It's just about winning for them at this point.
Yeah. Well, that was more than I could have asked for. That was some excellent reporting, which is, maybe I'm going to have to ask you to please step in all the time after the locker room. Any hope, because I know you like to deal with Twitter a lot and the fans, and you're very in touch with that. Any things that you could say from your observations today to say hope for the rest of the season?
Well, the vibes were good in the locker room all week. So, I'm not surprised that this was a close game. Honestly, I didn't like those last calls at the end of the game. And I asked Coach Tabor about those. He said basically those were calls that the offensive guys thought those were their calls. They thought they would work, and they didn't work. In that situation, I think that there were good things from this game. They ran the ball. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher since Detroit of last year.
Yeah, I knew that was why I hadn't looked it up yet.
Yeah, Detroit of last year. So they had 100. So they're small things. They were able to put together a decent touchdown drive. But all in all, just like winning is contagious, losing is contagious. It really is.
Yeah.
And so this team has a losing bug, and I don't know if or how they'll be able to get rid of it this season. But whoever David Tepper hires, is going to have to come in and really do an overhaul for this squad. And it's not necessarily, there are places where they could be better in talent, but there's no identity. There's no culture, and that's what this team needs.
All right, that was perfect. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Ms. Bass.
Thanks for having me.
For Carolina Blitz. So it's not in the description yet, but by the time that you look at this, there will be information in the description for this video for you to check out Vashti Hurt of Carolina Blitz. She has been covering the team for quite a while, travels a lot as well, so be sure to check her out and appreciate her coming on to the show. My wife says, hey, Vashti, she's gone now. But appreciate everybody that's been tuning in. Lots of good comments that are coming. Let's, before I really get into it, I want to acknowledge our members that have been joining. And let me also bring back my guy here since I have some screen room. Tin Tizzy.
There you go.
This team is not cool. It is not warm. It is burning hot trash, says Tin Tizzy. Even though you have some negative comments, as always,
You ain't wrong.
we give some accolades to our members that support this channel. Tin Tizzy is one of them, so appreciate the Tin Tizzy. And we got another member on here, Darrell. What's going on, Darrell? Another member of the channel. You members of the channel really help support us, so we appreciate you. And Darrell says, finally caught y'all live. Interesting game, so close to pulling it off. Yes, it was very interesting, very tough. For me, this game, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but I'm going to come back because next we're going to get into the photographs that our great photographer, Patrick Snyder, captured in the rain. But this game for me, I felt a little lifeless because we actually had not one, but two chances to win. And they started kind of creeping into it, which is something that you haven't been able to experience with this team this year, right? You haven't experienced like, okay, we're coming, we're there, oh crap. That was the build up for me during this game. But just to jump ahead for a second and give my feelings based off of Darrell's comment. Continue to hit the like button, please, and help support this channel. Let's go ahead, Andre, if you could, go ahead and put it on your Discovery Channel narration voice. And we're going to go ahead and go through some of the photographs that Patrick Snyder captured for us today. In no particular order, here we go.
Let us do it. So here we go. We got Bryce Young here. I'm not particularly sure what play this was on, but this was on one of those rollout plays that they had a whole bunch of today. And hey, they had quite a bit of success with him under center and doing the whole play action rollout using his legs kind of deal. On this next one here, this is a Xavier Woods interception. Baker Mayfield, a ball that seemingly felt like was in the air forever, underthrown in the rain, and Xavier Woods able to pick off Baker Mayfield, Carolina's first forced turnover in a game since the Houston game. So just think about that for some context there as we move forward here with Chuba Hubbard just so close to reaching the end zone there, able to get it in on the next play. He had a wonderful performance today, 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards rushing, and we'll get to the stats here in a couple of minutes as we move forward with our next image here of the Bryce Young 2-point conversion. And I called this drive that he had Big Boy Bryce. That was a big boy drive by Bryce Young and able to cap it off with a 2-point conversion that made the game a 3-point game. And then at the end, when the results were made final, a somber and very sad perspective that Bryce Young put out on display as Patrick was able to capture the mood of the situation there in his presser. And that kind of was just contagious throughout. Chris Tabor having a very active game coaching in his first game as interim coach. And I thought he did a fairly good job. But there were still moments where you were like, hey, what are we doing here? And we'll get to more of that here in a little bit as Chris, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, I was going to set you up for this next photograph. It's just the irony here. So I want you to get your narration voice together, which you've been doing great at. So this is Tabor in action, a chance to win, and
there you have it. The results go final. And the lack of results is what led to, again, the somber look on all of our favorite Panthers' faces. And again, that's been the contagion throughout this game and throughout this season. As Vashti said, this is a bug that Carolina cannot seem to break, no matter who is in as the coach, no matter who is in as offensive coordinator playing the calls or calling the plays. Seemingly nothing is working to get Carolina out of this contagion that we are in right now, which is 1-11. So where do we go from here? Who knows?
and a dream of mine, we're independent media. We've been doing a lot of stuff this season that we have not been able to do. We've never had a photographer go the full season, and we're having Patrick with us the full season for home and away games. Andre Cassiday's returning for a second season, first time ever. Man, if we could just have a staff of just one more, because that quality of content that Vashti brought by being able to go into the locker room is great. Or even if we just had anyway, let me stay focused. I'm sorry, but I love what I do.
Wishful thinking, right?
I appreciate the team. I appreciate everybody that continues to support Charlotte Vibe. It's a bad season, but we're still trying to grow in the midst of it and hope that you guys enjoy it and appreciate some of what we're trying to do. Next thing we're going to do is jump through some of these stats. Andre was awesome at rattling off a few off the top of his head, and I am pretty bad at having those stats on the screen right now. So let me see if I can make this work, because I did not.
Hey, fellas, he can see now. Hey, a couple hours ago, this would have been even more of a challenge with the shining light from the sun and then the elements of the rain from in the game. But here we go. We have them ready for you.
You're very I was thinking you're going about the vision stuff there, but you went there. Hey, Chuba Hubbard receiving. We had 25 carries for 104 yards. Vashti touched on the first 100-yard game this season by a Carolina Panther running back. 2 touchdowns. First time we've had 2 touchdowns from a running back. I don't know what she said and how long, but I know it has to have been quite a while, because we have not even
She said Detroit from last year, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought she said, Detroit of last year.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't just run the scoreboard up, like, heck, this is the first time we've had 2 TDs in a game by any combination, one player or multiple players, in at least 5 games.
It's been a minute.
Because I know we haven't scored over 16, and those were like field goals and defensive touchdowns. So I don't know if we got anybody that's quick out there on the Google to help let us know that. But nevertheless, it was certainly a good performance by Chuba with the 104 yards, 4.2 yard average, 17 long. Miles Sanders, Still getting some reps, 8 carries, 23, 2.9. Not terrible, but you still see a big difference between Miles and Chuba. I kind of feel like maybe, I guess at this one rate, they have increased this to it was about they're splitting carries, right? Now they've increased it to a ratio where Chuba's getting about 75%, Miles still getting 25%. I don't know for any reason they don't want to go too much more than that just because they're paying Miles so much, and they may just kind of hope that they could see something from him in the offseason, but I wouldn't mind that getting a little bit higher ratio in terms of getting Chuba just a higher part of this workload just because I like both of these guys, talked to them several times in the locker room, but I really like what Chuba is bringing to the team right now. So let's continue to go through some more of these stats. Again, I did not properly label everything, get it over. I've already done that one, so let me just get that one off of here. So sorry about that. We'll go to another one here. We will go to receiving. And I'm trying to get some stuff off my screen, but nevertheless, it'll be there. Receiving, Jonathan Mingo, which obviously stood out to me with his performance today. He had a team-high 10 carries, team-high 70 yards. I'm sorry, 69, almost 70 yards. Had some yards after the catch, I believe. That's how he got that 31-yard long. And one thing when I look at this receiving, I do like the mixture. I do like the fact that Jonathan Mingo was involved tremendously more. DJ Chark actually had 4 targets, which I think is pretty good, unfortunately for him. And I say unfortunately because it's like, man, just think about the adversity. No, I don't want to say that. Think about what we thought we were going to get with this team back in Spartanburg, back during training camp, and what we're getting now. And it's just surprising that I'm like, hey, look at this. DJ Chark had 4 targets. I did not think that that would be the case in the preseason. Well, not even in the preseason, but down in Spartanburg, I really thought that Chark would be a guy that was going to be Bryce's main target. I did not think Thielen would be that guy, but nevertheless, this is where we are right now. Thielen did get 6 targets, 3 catches, 25 yards. Andre, I don't know if you have any comment. Feel free to chime in, but I don't know if this was just the Bucs played differently or Thielen just wasn't open or the way that they called the plays. And there's the emphasis with this new coaching staff that they spread the ball around a little bit more. But nevertheless, the totals here was Bryce with 178 yards on 15 completions.
Right, and I do feel like they purposefully used Jonathan Mingo more. I felt like he was part of the game plan early on, and I think Thielen kind of tapered out and was kind of just more of in a supporting role, which in any other situation rather than Carolina, he would be in a supporting role and not that top guy that he is here in Carolina. But there was a focal point to get Jonathan Mingo the ball. I mean, there were multiple opportunities where I felt like had the ball have been placed in a better situation, Jonathan Mingo could have had even more catches and even more receptions. That one fake route that he had, I believe this was in the second quarter when they scored that field goal. I thought that was a good call. I thought it was a favorable matchup, one-on-one towards the outside. And it was just in that situation there, just a poorly thrown ball by Bryce because it was just too far to the outside of where he really couldn't make a play on the ball. But there was a focal point to get him more involved. And from what I noticed, Thielen was kind of just a supporting piece in it all. But overall, I think, with how the receivers played today, to Carolina's standard, and the standard is pretty low in terms of offensive output, right? I thought they had a relatively good performance. But again, you can't really ask for much just because of the deficiencies that they have with that skill group position.
Well said there, sir. Man, this is a result. I'm sorry, audience. This is a result of me not having stuff organized that we jumped over the defense. We'll then come back to the offense, nevertheless. But here we go. Marquise Haynes led us with tackles. Him and Frankie Louvu both had 7. Haynes had a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, and a quarterback hit. Louvu had a tackle for a loss. I think one of those was crucial late in the game as we were trying to get the ball back. He made a good play with the tackle. Might not have been a tackle for a loss, but nevertheless, it was a good play. We got several good pass deflections, breakups. Luvu had one, J.C. Horn had one, Xavier and Dante Jackson. And speaking of J.C. Horn, you want to talk about it?
Ooh, yeah, let's get into that. So I, along with Chris, noticed in the second half. I don't remember what moment in the second half, but we did see, and I think it was after the Mike Evans play, where we were like, "Oh, why isn't JC out there?" And then we started getting reports funneling in. Oh, he's on the sideline. He doesn't have a helmet on. Like, what is going on? He's not hurt. He's not benched. But hey, he was on a pitch count. And, that was explained after the game in Tabor's presser. But yeah, he was on a pitch count. And part of it was okay, I understand he's on a pitch count. But if he was on a pitch count, then why didn't we, initially break him into the game slowly in the first half and have him play more in the second half when the time is a little bit more crucial and the possessions are a little more valuable? He would have been perfect to have out there on that Mike Evans 74-yard touchdown pass that we gave up. So there's a lot of controversy there in how they handled that situation. I thought coming into this game, you knew that was going to be the case because he just got back from a pretty significant injury, right? So you want to ease him back into things. But it's how they did that and how they executed that many people on social are asking questions about.
And it was weird because normally a pitch count kind of thing, or when you're gradually trying to get a guy back, is noticeable, right? It might be first, I'm just making up numbers here, but let's say that first series was 8 plays. Well, then you might see the guy play 6 out of those 8. Next series, you might see him
Yeah.
play 4 out of 4. Next series, you might see him 3 out of. There's like marginal times that they're taking him in and out of the game. I didn't watch every single play, but from my recollection right now, it was like he's there, now he's gone. Oh, it's a pitch count. Oh, and other things. So thanks. I mean, we can only report on what we saw and what the team says, and that's what we have there from J.C. Horn. Hopefully, things are just the biggest hope that I have from it is that he's still okay, and that he'll continue to play and be able to contribute significantly for the team as they go down the stretch here with these final games for the Carolina Panthers. So let me continue to work. Let me bring that screen back up just to make sure I touch on everybody from there. Yetur Gross-Matos in his first game back, 4 tackles, and just some other things there. Dante Jackson with his 2 pass deflections, one of them coming at a really crucial time late in the game, again, as we were trying to
Right.
get the ball back. And that just all, unfortunately, ended up equaling disappointment for this Carolina Panthers team. And let me
Can I
continue to
say
move
one
through.
more thing?
Please do.
One more thing, Chris. Yeah, with the injury situation and players coming back, right? Did we hear J not JC Horn, Jeremy Chin? Was he out there at all today on defense? I know that he had a couple of snaps on special teams, just from my vantage point and perspective. But where was he on defense today? Was that part of the plan? Was that something that they were trying to do? I mean, I didn't see him out there at all really today.
That goes along with my pregame remark of when we announced all the guys that were going to be active that have been on IR. I said, this is not going to be something to get excited about. I said, it's not like saying these guys aren't good, but it's saying like this defense has played pretty solid in their absence. And a guy like
Right.
Jeremy Chin, he was a guy that you still continue to wonder if they figured out how exactly they're going to play him, right? Because he does have a lot of special teams, and then it's like, is he going to be in on nickel? Is he going to be in on dime? Because he's not in there for standard base defense. So with the binoculars, I never saw him out there on the play at all today. I'm not saying that was the case. I hate to sound like a coach, and sometimes I have to go back and look at the film because it's hard to watch all 22 guys during the game and do the
Right.
reporting. So that's one of the things that I had to circle back about. But no, I did not see him out doing the standard defense.
Yeah, because they had, I believe his name is Alex Cook, 27, as one of the safeties. And I keep referring to this Mike Evans 74-yard touchdown play because that was a big moment in the game where had Jeremy Chin may have been in there, he could have had a better read on the play with his experience. He's a third year, fourth year guy. who has a lot of talents and unique traits. I felt like he could have had um, some impact on that play because after we took the lead, 10-7 at that point, right? Literally within a matter of a minute, that lead is gone. And I know CJ Henderson got a lot of heat for that play too because he was the one making the tackle. But he wasn't the one in coverage on Mike Evans. It was Troy Hill that got beat and Alex Cook that wasn't providing leverage behind Troy Hill to where he was able to get open and get free and pretty much ran right up the middle of the Panthers defense, just from my observations from what I saw today.
Yeah. Let's continue to work through some of these. Andre, you look like you slouched down in that chair a little bit, man. Something happened?
Yeah. Well, you told me that I should adjust my camera angle, so we're messing with this one right now, but I
We're
can
experimenting.
make my posture a little bit taller if needed. But hey, we're always going to be flexible around here.
we,
That's what we're about here.
hey, Bryce Young, 15 of 31, 178 yards, 5.7 yard average, and that is actually pretty darn good for Bryce. I remember many games where he's less than that, but nevertheless, 5.7 yard average, one interception, 4 sacks, 52.9 passer rating. So that passer rating is terrible. I'm going to talk about these sacks. 4 sacks, 29 yards. I'm still going to give this offensive line a little golf clap. Not too much, a little golf clap. It was better than before, and I know this, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Fans are just tired of trying to hold on to the slightest bits of hope, and they just want a victory no matter what. So I'll keep this brief. That first half, the offensive line played pretty darn good. I don't think he had a quarterback hit, and I know he did not have a sack in that first half. Most of this came in the second half, where you could expect some of those new guys that are in the rotation that got elevated, not used to game action, may have gotten a little tired. They went in at halftime. They may have figured out a thing or two to do, and they were able to have some more success and get into Bryce. I also know in one particular play that Bryce held the ball too long, as he should have just ran, got a few yards and slid, even though it's slide. What are we now, week 13, and Bryce Young still does not know how to slide? Come on, Bryce. Are you stubborn? Do you not want to practice it at all? You're like, yeah, I got it. His slide still needs to be worked on, but one of those.
He probably doesn't have enough tush in his cush to be able to support that. I guess that's what it is. I mean, neither here nor there, right?
Yeah, but Bryce, those were his stats from the day. You know, what do we do? Like I said, I'm going to keep the optimism brief tonight because I know a lot of people are they're just tired. I think that covers all the stats. Did I cover it all? For the quarterback, rushing, receiving, defense. I covered it all, right?
I think we did.
All right. So I don't know if you've been monitoring the comments. We're going to get into the comments here a little bit. We got about 30 minutes left on the show. I'm going to talk about Brian Burns, man. That information that Vashti was able to bring to us was pretty good in terms of saying he said something to me that he shouldn't have said. Of course, you think about racial stuff, due to the dynamics, black player, white player, so you could think about that. The other thing would be family, that
Right.
players tend to think that's off limits, or wife. I don't think Brian Burns is married. So to me, there's a limited number of things that you would think that could be. It's unfortunate if that happened like that. Yeah, and if he was triggered as such where he just said he lost it because she said he went to, I forget, 100 or whatever she said, right? Well, to me, that was still a very good control by Brian, that he didn't just keep going and really come up to the guy, right? He just kind of hit him and stepped away as he did it. Nevertheless, his penalty got him ejected from the game. But, yeah, it's unfortunate, and I do feel like it could be one of those frustrating things that, man, all the stuff that's been, most of our big headlines this season have been talking about Brian Burns getting the contract, sitting out, Bosa getting his contract, what's going to happen, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and it's just been a taxing year for him. I mean, he's had a lot of spotlight on him, whether fair or not, about things that have happened off the field. in regards to the contract, in regards to potentially getting traded. He has no control over that. He may have a say in how much money he may want in his contract, but you know, that's out of his control. That's through the control of Scott Fitterer and their agent. So that's the part to where I can sense the frustration because he knows he wanted that stuff done and out of the way by the start of this season, and it would have allowed him to be a little bit more focused. I'm not saying he isn't focused, but how can you not be with all this stuff that's surrounding him and all the things that are being said about him by people in the media and through social media as well? It's been a taxing year for him. And I think, when you look at the numbers today, with Carolina only having a sack, I mean, it kind of just comes down to performance and results and the lack of results, with this Panthers front seven. And, it's frustrating for Bryant because obviously he's their best pass rusher, he's their best defensive player. And to his standard, obviously, he hasn't performed. And so, you factor all that stuff into what happened today. And yeah, you're going to hit a boiling point. And, to me, I was kind of glad that he showed some emotion today because, hey, we all feel it right now. As fans, as consumers of this team, we're irritated. We're just annoyed by the product that's being put on the field because, like you said earlier in the broadcast, Chris, there's just so much life that we have in our souls at the beginning of the season, right?
It was a lot, yeah.
And now it was a lot, right? And now it's just getting sucked out and beaten out of us week after week after week. And it gets to the point where it's like, how much more can the soul of Chris Jenkins take? How much more can the soul of Andre Cassidy take? How much more can Patrick Snyder take? And everybody who's associated with this. It's a lot.
At least five more games. At least five more is what I'm going to take. Probably. I can't be man of the people if I'm going to tap out. So I'm not tapping out. No,
Right.
As long as I got like 0.1% energy there, I'm going to keep going, all right? But let's go ahead and talk about this game. Chris Tabors first as interim head coach. Quick takes. Again, I know we lost. I'm not going to talk too much about the optimism part, but I saw a difference today. I saw the offensive line play differently, giving Bryce that chance. And it wasn't a bad game. You saw more running, even though you don't know how much that terrible rain in that first half played into that being where we saw so much more Chuba. I was pretty much satisfied with the game from what could be. Right, I didn't expect a super turnaround because your personnel is what it is. Michael Strawn was signed, and he got some more action today. A little disappointed that he didn't have more opportunities or didn't do something there. Not to say that he did anything wrong, just kind of wish he had some more success there. But let's go and talk about the end of this game, and then we're going to dive into whatever comments we can with the time that we have left. I don't know if any good ones have been there, but we will certainly go through that. And thank everybody that has been tuning in and is still watching with us at this point in the evening, as I am live from Tampa, where it's fortunately not hot. But let me get into this. Panthers, I forget the exact sequence. What was the first sequence where we gave up the ball as we were trying to score at the end of the game? I'm having a brain fart.
So, at the end of the game.
Yeah, I know we had we gave them the ball, and then, Bryce threw the interception. Is that what it was? Bryce threw the interception?
He had the interception on that fourth down play, and then
that gave the ball back to Tampa.
Right there, yeah. They gave the ball back, and then they were able to pretty much run the clock out after that.
Okay, so go back first. So go back. So, we had the ball under 5 minutes to go with a chance to score.
Yeah.
And how did that series end? Do you remember? Do we need to go to the stats? Let me go to the stats really quick. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm having a major brain fart here about the series and how I want to talk about it. So bear with me just a second.
That was the 2-point conversion drive, right?
No, that's not. I'll take a look here. Just a second.
Okay.
See if I can't get my act together on live TV.
Because now I'm like, man, did I remember that correctly? Because you had the 2-point conversion drive, and then they got the ball back, and then they forced the three and out.
So they had a touchdown We had a touchdown. Then they punted.
Yeah, and then we got the ball back on
Man,
our
all right.
final drive.
I apologize out there to live
Yeah.
TV. My mind is not remembering something exactly as I thought it was, but nevertheless, I did like the 2 point conversion try. I like the 2 point conversion, and what they did the first time didn't work. Bryce had a face mask penalty, and so they had another chance. And they changed the personnel, and they came and ran a great play. Ian Thomas goes in the backfield, lead blocker. You're thinking there's going to be some kind of power. No, he goes in, fakes the block, and he's actually the intended receiver on that play with a counter coming back over to the right, actually right behind me in the direction that they were going. Wasn't quite open. Bryce Young was able to walk in, score, 2 point conversion. I promise you not. At that point, I was like, man, I like this. Thomas Brown, they're getting it together. Something didn't work.
Hmm.
They had a chance to adjust. They adjusted, changed personnel, got creative with the route that Ian Thomas ran with that block. I'm like, okay, this is cool. We're going to have some things to look forward to and hang our hat on. We might not be winning every game, but hey, like I said pregame, if we're losing 30-27, if we're scoring some points, I'm happier. Not happy, but I'm happier. So we had that
Happier.
sequence that happened like that, and I got other sounds going in my ear that I'm going to kill. There we go. Andre's not here to not have to deal with that because you know when we have the sound in our ear, like, oh, they can't hear it, but we can't. Anyway,
Right.
so we had that series happen where I'm feeling good about this team, and then they come down, they get the ball back with another chance to score, and I'm like, this is great. They only need a field goal to win this thing, and then we get down to 3rd and 1,
Yep.
and we
Third and
pass.
one.
I feel like I'm still missing a sequence, but nevertheless, you guys will help me out in the comments. Like, Chris, here's what you're doing, and I'm just going to blame it on the humidity down here for this brain fart that I'm having. But it was 3rd and 1, and we did a pass play, and I was like, okay. We still got 4th and 1. We go for 4th and 1, and we do another pass play. Are you kidding me? This is not the same level, not at all the same level. But I'm sure Marshawn Lynch is somewhere eating some Skittles, and it's like, man, when you got
Y'all
1
just
yard
needed
to
one
go,
yard.
there's so many. You just got 1 yard to go, and you're suddenly going to give Bryce Young the pass, Bryce Young another, and you're not going to let Chuba, who's having a career day, who's having over 100 yards, who's doing pretty good. The line is doing fair enough. And then, not to mention, not that I really, really would expect this, but you also have the tush push that's going on in this league these days. Like, you have so many. You have the Cade Mays plays from last year where you brought a big guy in to get the. Like, why did you on 2 consecutive plays go to run the ball with Chuba doing as good as he has been? And then these guys are playing with nickel most of the game because all their linebackers are hurt, right?
Right.
All their linebackers are hurt. I'm sure that helped a little
And there was
bit.
one linebacker that got hurt in the game.
Right. So I don't think he had any more linebackers, right?
I mean,
What
at
about
that point, yeah, you're just SOL because I mean, everybody's hurt at that particular group. So and that was the reason why they were so run heavy throughout this whole game was because of the fact that they just didn't have that middle part of their defense available for them.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into any deep analysis right now in this live, but I just wanted to give some perspective, like, for why that was so head scratching that they did that sequence like that, and then you had Bryce throw the interception, which finally ended the game. I still feel like I'm out of order with some sequence. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into some questions. Anything that you want to add to that, Andre? Or do you want to go
I
ahead and get
mean,
to
I'm
comments?
just gonna pretty much reiterate what you said. I mean, it was just the same thought process with how I viewed it too. Like, and I think part of the reason why they passed it on those 2 plays there was because they wanted to put it into Bryce Young's hands, right? They wanted to give Bryce Young that opportunity to showcase what he can do in those moments.
This is in his
That would
hands every
be
play.
Right, right.
His
But
hands every play.
in that specific scenario though, where the game is on the line, you need your first overall pick to make a play and come over and get this team over the hump in that scenario. And I think that was what was going through their head. And Tabor in the press conference, he basically said, "Hey, I let my guys coach, and that was the decision that they went with, and they picked two play calls that they thought was going to work, and of course, it didn't work." So that to me is probably what the perspective is going to be and the moral justification, if you will, for why they went to go with what they did. But you only needed a yard. It'd be different if it was like 4th and 6, and you're like, well, you have no choice but to put it in his hands. But and again, it just comes down to the fact that when you had Miles Sanders, that was the other part of the equation too, Chris. When they had Miles Sanders in on those two plays, I was like, gosh darn it, they're going to pass this ball because they're not running it with him up the middle. He's not a power back. You think he's going to get a yard in that situation? No, it's just not going to happen.
Hey, I apologize. We're at like 50 minutes, and I haven't given you the opportunity to talk about the press conference. Anything that we haven't covered that the press conference talked about that will be applicable before we continue to move to the comments?
Let me look through my notes here because if I'm not forgetting anything, which I do have a habit of doing, is forgetting stuff, right?
And
As people know me so well, right?
you don't forget anything.
I think really I guess the moral of the story and how he viewed this game is, hey, our guys fought, right? When you look at last week's game,
I thought I was going to have to
17
go back
10.
and hit the censor button. I'm like, hey, we're not on the FCC, but geez, our guys, what?
Hey,
Woo.
I'm not that unhinged, okay?
I
It's
thought-
Sunday, it's the Lord's Day. We're going to keep it clean around here,
I
ladies
thought
and gentlemen.
Andre was going to say, our guys effed up, was what the coach said, but he did not say that, folks.
No.
They fought.
They fought. They definitely fought, and they showed some character in moments, right? But when you looked at last week's game, 17-10, and when they had their opportunity to try to get back into that game, you didn't feel like they had a chance, honestly, with how the game went, with Bryce Young, getting pressure basically on every play, it seemed like. You just had no hope. In this game in particular, there was some hope. There were moments where they clawed back into this game. They were able to fight back, and they had that keep pounding mentality. And they showed it on multiple occasions. Now, they weren't able to pull it out in the end, but there was reason for hope. And to Tabor's credit, he was able to get those guys ready to go after the kind of week that they had. So much noise with this team off the field, so many leaks, so many decisions regarding people getting fired, David Tepper having his press conference. To be able to put up the kind of performance that they had today, it was respectable. But as a fan, you still have every reason to be frustrated because we lost another game again.
Yeah.
11 on the year. Results are not there. And that's where we are right now.
Get into these comments now. Thomas
Let's do it.
Jerkins. I want to say Jenkins because I look so much like Jenkins. Thomas Jerkins.
It does.
I'm telling you right now, if Bryce Young checked to that play at the line, I'm done, bro, because he kills plays all the time, and it's getting aggravating because it's like he is outsmarting himself.
And he
Was there
said
any
in
talk-
his presser, too. He said in his presser, Bryce Young, that he did not make any checks. He rolled with those two plays that they had. Now, he did say on that 4th down play, he made a mistake by not issuing a check on a part of the play to where there was a defender that was coming in on his left side that caused him to roll to his right, forcing him to make that throw to Thielen. Because initially he did have Miles Sanders open on that 4th down play. He just didn't catch it in time. And then once that play developed, those options really closed in, and he really had nobody to throw the ball to in that situation. So he had to throw that ball up into the air and force it into coverage. But he stuck to those plays. He didn't make any adjustments at all. He stuck to what was called on the field.
Appreciate that, Andre. Leonard Kowalski, that false hope bleep. Each game also doubles the speed of the removal of our souls.
I like that.
That is
That's a good encapsulation of how everybody feels right now. I
that
feel
is
that
facts.
100%. Yes.
Dome 34. We all know what's going to happen. Our organization will franchise him and feel stupid if we can't get a commitment on both ends. That's a comment there about Brian Burns saying that we're going to
Yep.
franchise him. So, Sarah. I don't know if I'll have the energy to give some comments on that because I'm like,
Hey, that's a
let's see.
long-term issue. We're talking about today.
Hey, we got to get our man in here, Shaked Bartal.
Yes.
Chris, very good players on O-line to give up 44 sacks
I
in
love the
12 games.
sarcasm.
I don't believe in excuses. They are very bad, overrated, overpaid players. Man, I would just for like a moment just love to be a fly on the wall in his house and just would love to watch him parent his kids, right? Right. It would just be, I hope you enjoyed the fun there
Oh,
that I'm poking
man.
with you, but
There'd
definitely
be a lot of
understand.
expletives. There'd be a lot of expletives on
I
full
don't
display there. I can
understand.
just tell you. And hey, and while we're at it too, this is our opportunity to plug the link that is in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't utilized that link yet, we're in the last stretch of this show. Feel free to come on board, say what's up, and get some things off your chest. I know, Shakid, if you're out there right now, I know you are more than welcome to come on. And all of you out there, all of our members as well, feel free to chime in. We're here for all of you. And we're going to try to be that shoulder that you can lean on here because, hey, we could definitely use that right now.
Hey, Ali says, welcome back, fellas. Even though we lost, I saw some progress, which is a start. Yeah, and I truly did see a lot of progress, but again, I'm going to talk about as much as the audience that we have wants to talk about it. Ali there with the comment on it, so I'll continue to roll and go from there. Let's see. The
Allie,
line
I
did,
didn't see anything today, man. This team looked like garbage today, man. I don't know what we saw. I don't know what you saw, but this was garbage today, ladies and gentlemen.
and I'm going backwards here, so this is probably what was generated some of Shakid's comments. Chef Thomas said the line did great. Bryce had time, no sacks. So Shaq's comment was still a little bit all-encompassing on the season. These guys still,
Right.
like I said, they did a good first half. They did a very, very good first half. I will say that. No sacks, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there was no quarterback hits. I know we had one come early in that third quarter. I just don't know if that was at the very end of the second or if that was at the beginning of the third. But it was, you got guys that were elevated from the practice squad that are in there, and they did well.
Justin McCray was a
Yeah.
starter, and he
And-
just got elevated a couple days back.
Yeah, and McCray, I feel like McCray did a really good job. They ran the ball a lot on McCray's side as well, and that's commendable considering that they, how things have been in the past. Let me see if I can get through a few more here. I'm gonna have to throw this suit in the cleaners, man, because I'm just like humidly sweating here. Offense underwhelming. All right, Bryce ain't it, which we'll hear some of that. Bryce ain't it. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to whisper it even though it's out to the internet and anybody watching can hear this. I
Okay.
really wonder, I'm going to go ahead and say it on camera now, I really wonder about Bryce throwing a deep ball. We're at week 13, and I'm not saying that he should be throwing like 70-yard bombs. I'm not saying he should have 5 passes where they're over 50. I'm just saying I want to see him hit one guy in stride that's going down the field just even 30 yards or more. And I
Did you
haven't
see
seen
that
it.
fourth down play, Chris?
The fourth down play?
Yeah, where he converted that to DJ Chark for 35 yards that led to the touchdown and then the 2-point conversion.
That Chark
That was
play,
pretty nice, Chris.
Well, okay,
that was
but
pretty nice.
let me tell you though, this is what that was. That's what they did every day down in training camp. And that's what I talked to DJ Chark about before, was his style of catching the deep ball. Most of the time, and it's kind of interesting, but it's weird and unique, I feel like, to DJ Chark. When you see Tyreek, and he's a fast guy that comes to mind. I know there's other fast guys.
Right.
Tyreek today had a game, a 70-yard touchdown maybe, and about like a 60. Anyway, I know he had 2 deep long passes, right, for touchdowns. Did you
He
see
gave
one
me
of them?
40 fantasy points today.
Did you see him on the ground after any of those receptions? No, because he caught the
No,
ball
he was
like this
in
in
stride.
stride and can keep going. When Chark catches his deep balls from Bryce, he always does this. He waits for the last minute, he looks over, he leans back, and he's always falling back and catching it. He's falling back, which means the ball is behind him, which means the ball is short, which means the ball is not exactly accurate. So to me, I still support to say, like, what's up? I'm not saying he's bad at it, but Chris Jenkins of Charlotte Vibe, I'm officially saying, what's up with Bryce Young on a deep pass? Now, I see a lot of what people talk about, the point guard distributing the ball and being accurate on 20 yards and in. I see that. I don't see it beyond that. But I'll keep going because I know you got a comment. You want to go ahead and comment, Andre?
I'll just say this, you could be a point guard, but if you ain't got no 3-point shooters around you, then what's it to you? Okay. This guy is walking around as this Rajon Rondo kind of player, and he's passing to guys like Bismack Biyombo and MKG and all these guys who can't shoot. Okay. So if y'all get the reference, great. But if you don't, let me just dumb it down for everybody out there. These guys can't separate, aka they can't shoot. So when you have situations where you would like for him to go deep, and there were multiple occasions where I'm like, guys, just throw the ball deep. They're playing him so far up. They can't do it because they cannot seem to find a way to get open, and their routes take forever for them to get open. So it's a two-way street, but I mean, hey, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there because I do see where you're coming from. You are making some very good points in that regard. Basically, we can all agree we need to see more in order to have a fair judgment of his arm strength and his ability to throw the ball down the field.
I really do want to fight with you more, but darn it. The producer's in my ear saying, Chris, you got to continue to roll on. Let's continue to
Keep
go
moving
through
forward, man.
a few more. How much time we got here? We got about 9 more minutes here. Until Tepper
All
stops
right.
his silly, egotistical behaviors, things won't get better. He has single-handedly destroyed the team from the beginning. When he bought the team, he destroyed the Panthers culture. Lisa Lewis, thank you for your comment. All right, we got one person here that's going to jump on before we get out of here.
Oh,
We
here we
got
go.
Thomas. Let me get the button. Thomas, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
You know what? Just I guess I'm just used to being numb of them another loss. So you know what? It is what it is at this point.
Oh,
But I
man.
don't know. I I guess the frustrating thing is seeing a little bit of progress, baby steps is I guess fine with me. But I just don't understand the whole Bryce they're that third short. Either run it or roll out and just get the first down yourself. It's like he's afraid to do that for the
Oh,
most part.
okay.
But I don't know. Just overall, I did see a little more fight, which I'm okay with. But who knows? All I want, just go play spoilers, screw the other team's chances up for a playoff berth, and try to get that number one pick that Chicago owns, and make it to where they don't have number one anymore. That's all I want now.
All right. Did you have anything else for
But
us?
now that's is about it. I guess it's always something with this team. So I mean, I'm just waiting for if I don't know, and it's like one of those to where it's like I wouldn't mind if they kept Taper and Evero. I mean, if he doesn't get snatched up, because those are like the only two sides of the ball that the team actually fights hard with. But I mean, we'll see on if they actually get to stay.
Let me ask you this. Are you going to continue to watch the games the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, if they lose, they lose. I mean, now I guess this is how Browns and Lions fans have felt for years. So I guess it's my turn to suffer. But no, I won't give up. I mean, honestly, when you go through 1-15 back in 01 and 2-14 in 2010, it just comes with it of being a Panthers fan, I guess. Just a lack of inability to play. So just used to it by now. But
Hey, well, Thomas, I
that's
think this
about
is your
it.
second time calling in, man. So I appreciate it very much. And you made it before the end of the show, so we could say we had a caller. Hopefully, you'll convince everybody else, hey, it's not that bad. It's not that tough. Just call in and let us know how you feel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
You as well.
See
So
you, man.
it's nice to have an optimistic fan. I think Bryce isn't afraid to run. He talked about Bryce being afraid to run. Maybe just didn't feel like he had the opportunity. I don't remember exactly which play that he was talking about. But, yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let me see if I can get one more before I get out of here. My feet are getting tired from being out here, man. Let's see. Don't laugh at me.
Something about that. Something about that Florida air, man.
That Florida air.
It just takes the wind out of you.
Here we go. I'll pick this one. It's been good down here in Florida. Which is a good segue, right? Let me just go ahead and Rod, I'm going to come back to your comment here in a second. Andre will be holding down, because I know he's going to talk about me tomorrow. Andre is going to be holding down our day after show, which will happen tomorrow. We do it every single week after the game, where we, give you the latest from the press conference from the coach, but we mostly want to dedicate that time to interacting with you guys and going through the comments. I will not be there tomorrow, as I will still be flying back from Florida, as I will be spending an extra day down in Florida to try to get some sunshine. So, Andre, thank you in advance for holding it down tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, set your notifications, and check Andre out. So, let me go to this last comment here from Rod Britt. Team showed a lot of fight and was right in it, but the inevitable always seems to happen. Still riding with them, but this is rough. So, yes, another optimistic fan out there. I guess right now that's really all that you can have on the channel right now, right? Not the pissed off people are like, man, I'm going. I ain't even checking out nothing. I'm enjoying my Sunday. But Andre, anything that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about from this game today?
I think I'm just going to piggyback off of that optimism that we just saw in that comment there. I think, it's hard to be reasonable right now, especially with how things have gone this season. And I keep, referring back to, what the expectation was at the beginning of the year and the stuff that we were fed at the beginning of the year by folks who are in positions of power, if you will, associated with this team. And then you juxtapose that with what we're seeing right now, and you're just like, wow, how did this get so bad, so fast, and so rapidly? I don't have an answer, because there are many answers to that question, but man almighty, this has been quite the ride, quite the bumper or bumps in the road kind of thing. But hey, look, today we saw a little bit of progress. We saw some things that we could build upon. And while we are now eliminated from the playoffs, so we can just stop this foolish goal of trying to make it to the playoffs, because it ain't happening, folks. Okay, let's just get that out. Stick the fork in us. Okay, it's 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. The turkey is dead. The turkey is consumed. We're done. We're
no more leftovers.
Right? No more leftovers. If you still got leftovers, you may have some salmonella in your food right now. So just FYI, get that food out of your fridge. But I guess my message to all of you is just keep at it, man. We've had seasons in the past where, hey, you ask the question, why are you still watching? And it's because of the days ahead where we know that better things are going to be there coming soon in the future. And it's going to make those moments where when we're back at it again, when we have success again, it's just going to make things that much sweeter and that much more worth it. So we're having the growing pains now. And we may not know if the people who are on this team are going to be on the team in the future. That will be decided sooner rather than later, I would imagine, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, we saw some positives. We have a chance to be spoilers to some contending teams. Let's just go out and play loose and have some fun, like Chris Tabor said. And you did see some elements of that today. You didn't see all that come to fruition, obviously. But hey, there's 5 more games to try to achieve that goal. And we're going to be here to cover for you guys here at Charlotte Vibe.
There you have it. Once again, the Carolina Panthers fall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Final score was 21 Tampa, 18 Carolina Panthers. We're now 1-11.
Got it.
We will play the New Orleans Saints next week in New Orleans.
And the Big Easy.
Yours truly will be in the Big Easy. Continue to bring you all the latest actions. We'll hope that you will subscribe, tell a friend, like the video. I'm Chris Jenkins. That's Andre Cassidy for Charlotte Vibe. We'll see you soon.
See you, everybody.